My name's Rob Berry. I'm a HSC Geography and Business Studies teacher at Merewether High School in Newcastle, New South Wales. I've been a HSC marker for a number of years. We'll start by just going through the structure of the exam paper. The HSC exam paper is a 3-hour exam with 5 minutes reading time. You've got 20 multiple choice worth 20 marks, then 4 to 6 short answer worth 40 marks, and then you have 2 extended responses. You're given a choice of 3 questions, 1 on each topic, and you have to write 2 extended responses, and they're 20 marks each for a total of 100 marks for the paper. So some general hints to start with throughout the HSC year, and I'll start with skills to begin with. The key point with skills is to practice throughout the year. Practice, practice, practice. So where are you going to get some resources from to practice these HSC skills? The problem with the past papers on the Border Studies website is that the stimulus booklets are not always scanned in full. So what you'll need to do is go and ask your teacher or another geography teacher at school if they've got some past HSC papers with the stimulus broadsheet to help you practice some skills questions from the multiple choice. You can then go onto the Border Studies website and get the answers. The other resource that you can look at is the range of HSC study guides that are published for geography by a range of different authors and a range of different publishers. They're always handy to use for practicing skills throughout the Geography HSC course. The other thing you need to have a look at is on page 15 and 16 of the HSC Geography syllabus document on the Border Studies website. There is a checklist of the geographical tools and skills that you need to know for Stage 6 Geography for the HSC exam. So my advice to you would be to run through that consistently throughout the HSC course and check off the skills that you can complete. For example, the first one says, can you calculate the gradient of a slope as a ratio? If you know how to do that, tick off, and then go to the next one, calculating the vertical exaggeration of a cross-section. They're the skills in total, so you need to go through and check that you understand how to do each one of those. Written responses. The geography course is an outcome-based course. So in other words, the short answer questions and the extended response questions that you're going to be asked in the HSC come from the outcomes which are at the start of each topic for the HSC in the syllabus. So the outcomes are what the Border Studies derives the questions from for the HSC course. So you need to continually reference back to those outcomes at the start of each syllabus to ensure that you've got a good coverage of the course. And I'll give you an example of one of those outcomes and give you an example of why those outcomes are important. If, for instance, we go to the first topic, ecosystems at risk, and you look at H5 outcome, the outcome says evaluate environmental management strategies in terms of ecological sustainability. So the key point here is, are you able to evaluate environmental management strategies for your particular ecosystem at risk in terms of ecological sustainability? So in other words, you need to be able to do more than just regurgitate the content of what the management strategies are for your ecosystem at risk. You actually need to be able to do an evaluation, which means you have to make a judgment based on some sort of criteria as to the value or the success of those management strategies. So whilst it's really important throughout the year to continually summarise your notes, because there's lots of content in the HSC Geography course, and my suggestion to you would be to download the Word document format of the Border Studies HSC Geography syllabus, and then you can slot in your summaries in point form underneath the dot points of the syllabus to ensure you've got the course covered. However, you then need to take those summaries and your knowledge of the summaries and apply them to different practice questions along the way throughout the year. So in other words, go back and have a look at the past HSC papers on the Border Studies website and practice addressing different verbs. So practice what an evaluate means, practice what an explain means, and practice doing a describe and an outline and the range of Border Studies verbs. That's the key to improving your written responses along the way throughout the year. Geography is a subject that is about writing. So how do you go about practicing your writing and moving on from just memorising your summaries? The trap that a lot of HSC students in geography fall into is they concentrate too much on making summaries throughout the year and just memorising the summaries. The HSC exam is not a test of your memory and asking you to regurgitate content. The HSC exam is asking you to use your knowledge of the content and mould it to the question that's being asked. So how do you practice that? The best resource you've got to practice that is the past papers on the Border Studies website under Geography. If you click on Geography HSC past papers, you'll find that there is an examination paper, and then with that examination paper there are the marking guidelines, there are sample answers written by the HSC markers, and then there are notes from the marking centre. The notes from the marking centre give you an idea of what students did well in terms of their strengths and what students didn't do so well in terms of their responses for that particular HSC year for that particular question. So an example might be question 22C from last year's HSC. Discuss the positive or negative human impacts on an ecosystem at risk. So the idea here would be go and read your summary for that dot point and go and match it to where that question sits in the syllabus and the part of the syllabus that it's testing. You could then go and write your response to that question, concentrating on the discuss verb and ensuring you address that. Then you can go and have a look at the sample answer, which has been written by the HSC markers, and then have a look at the feedback which HSC markers have given in terms of the responses that students across the state have given for that particular question in that year of the HSC. That gives you a really good idea of what you might have done well or not so well in your response, and it gives you a good idea of what the markers are looking for in terms of your written responses in the exam. The next really good resource that you've got for assisting you in practicing your written responses in geography is a publication that the Board of Studies put out each year called the Exam Workbook, and there's going to be a geography exam workbook based on the 2013 high school certificate. That workbook contains the past HSC written questions. It also gives you the marker comments and the guidelines, but the other thing it does is it gives you top scoring student responses. So it actually gives you sample answers from the HSC of top scoring student responses. So it gives you a good idea of the standard that you need to reach in terms of your writing to get into those top bands for the HSC, and gives you a good idea of how the better students in the state approach questions for geography. So that's a really good resource to look at as well.